So we finished on forms, eh?
Yes.
So today's class, we are beginning from tables. I think.
Tables.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
You have the class manual. I hope so.
Yes, we have the class notes.
Okay. Okay. So with that, we just want to proceed and begin on these HTML tables. So I'll just share these notes for us to move very quickly. I hope that is accessible from your side.
Very
Yes.
accessible.
Now I would want to begin on tables, and I would prefer if you would have at least an overview of how table look like. Also considering that you have understood forms, which are basically borrowing from each other. But I want just to say tables as it is a means of dividing contents from the display or a web window. In that regard, it's a means of subdividing. So HTML tables allow web authors to arrange data like images, links, and other links and other tables into rows and columns. So as soon as you come across a table, and as from inception, you understand that a table is made up of rows and columns, basically. So when you are defining how HTML tables behave, you need to be specific that it is a means of authoring data in form of text, images, and links, or other tables into rows and columns. So when I realize these things in form of rows and columns, we have some background. Please kindly mute once you enter the class, please. I have a challenge here. Mute Kalonzi. Okay. So HTML tables are created using HTML tag. I hope you can see this HTML table tag. This is the tag that we are interested in when we are working on tables. So the HTML tables are created using this table tag, in which the TR tag is used to create table rows and TD tag is used to create data cells. In fact, tables is very easy. Once you get this table tag and understand the TR tag used to create rows and TD tag used to create data cells. These are the two important aspects, TR and TD, the one for creating rows and the one for creating data or entering data in that regard. So that if I have an HTML, an HTML code like this, in this regard, you will realize I open an HTML, I open an add. As usual, I open the title. The title is within the add section. Then I open the body, and I want you to be vigilant from this point that the table tag is found inside the body. The table tag, as you see, it's inside the body. So I open the table tag as usual, but for this case, I've introduced an attribute known as border. When I want to define the border of my table like this, what surrounds my table, what is surrounding my table is what is defined by this border. Then now TR, remember I talked about these two important tags, the TR tag and the TD tag. And I say TR is used to create a table row and TD is creating the data cells. So this is why I introduced the TR to create the row. For example, in this regard, I've generated a row, and inside this, I create table data row 1, column 1, which you will see here, and table data row 1, column 2, which is here. Another, I close now the table row. You see where I open the table row and where I close the table row. I now open another table row, you see, so that it can be able to hold row 1, column 2, which is here. and then table data again, another table data to all, like that. So when I say TD, I close the TD like that. I open, I close. Maybe we can take this like that and see an output in form of an HTML. This is what I requested you to do in the other class. If I take that and I open Notepad, it's Windows tab R, and then I type Notepad. I hope you can still see what I'm doing. If I can, let me stop this share, and then again share Notepad. So once I get it in a Notepad like this, I should be able to now save. So I'll save file, save as. Let me call this one table.html. So I have saved that. I'll stop this share again. Then I go to my desktop. And then I get to this table. So I'll have to share again. A bit share the desktop. So this is what I wanted you to do. Once you have saved in, once you have written in a Notepad, you save it with an extension .html. So you will see once you save like that, automatically it is able to save and display or find in a web browser. So that once you open the web browser, you will be able to see an output like this. I hope you can see my output from the other side. Yes? Let me get the response if you are able to see
Yes.
what I'm doing.
We can see
Yeah.
that, sir.
Yes. So if we discuss from this output, at the back of it, everyone now understands that you just begin from writing HTML, you open an HTML, then you open the head. Inside the head, you get the title, you close the title, you close the head, and then you now open the body. Once you open the body, you now open the table, so that you know now that the table is contained inside the body. The table is contained inside the body of HTML. So once you open the table, you now define table row. The first thing, once you open the table, you start with TR, table row, and then now table data, which now will define. Yes, are we still together? Maybe I should stop sharing that. Share this HTML. So this is it. This is what I'm trying to explain. So once you display the columns, yes, are we together? Any question? Yes. So I was explaining how this particular display, which you saw, looks like. So I have said, once I open the table, as you have seen here, what comes immediately is the row. You define the row, and then you define the data which goes to each of those data cells. So TD like that, depending on how many data cells you want. And then you close the table row. You open, make sure you close like that. You open another, as many as you have the rows, you know, as many rows as you want, like that. I hope that is well understood. Maybe I can move to the second section. Now, I want us to explain on something else and this. So once you have seen that, I want to explain about table heading. As the name suggests, table heading, it uses a TH tag known as table heading tag. Should be able to share this. So the table heading can be defined using TH tag. As you can see, this is a TH tag, which defines table header. And you can use this TH to replace TD. Remember, TD was defining the data that goes into the individual cells like this. This is what TD does. But now when I introduce TH, when I want to have headers in my tables, you see, I define this using TH tag. So you can replace TD with TH. But you know now the TH tag by default is bolded. So we can say that this TH tag by default is bolded. And as you can see how you introduce it, once you open your HTML add title like that, of course, I said table comes inside the body tag. Once you open the body, you now introduce the table. So you see, I defined the table row, but instead of bringing in table data, I bring in table header. That's why I open table header, I close table header. I open another table header, I close table header. Considering the headers, if I needed 3 headers to appear, then I introduce another table header. Maybe name, salary, and maybe age. So if I needed another row, I just bring in table header, then salary, like that, I close table header. So that I can have now 3, like name, salary, and maybe age comes in after that. So, but I hope you see the concept of why we need table header and why we are replacing table header instead of bringing in straight table data. Like that, I close that table row. Now I come in, I open another table row, I bring in now table data as usual, you see, which is now not bolded, as you can see this output. So this is bolded by table data, like that, individually. So that is why you see, I open a table row, I bring in table data Ramesh, table data 500, like that, considering the data that you want to go to those individual rows. Then you close table row, you close the table, you close the body HTML. It is worth noting that the table is contained inside the body. I hope you can see those key areas. So if you take this again and you display, you will see similarly, more or less, now bringing in table header with, which is bolded. Maybe we can just use similar, the ones which we already had. So like this one, I want to bring in table header. So I'll just change table header. And then I close, instead of TD, I bring in TH. I bring in again, instead of TD, TH. Then we will see how the output has been manipulated. TH. So maybe I can bring in name. Bring in here salary. Then I save so that we can see automatically how it is displayed. Now I stop share. We can now share the desktop. Let's see our table, which is here. We display it. I hope you can see how the output looks like now. Yes, are we together? Yes, yes,
Yes,
class.
yes.
Are you seeing the concept how it comes in?
It is very clear.
Yes. So you can see now how the table headers have been able to be bolded and centered. By default, it is bolded and centered, so that once you want to bring headers within your document, so that you can distinguish between the data that goes into individual cells and the tables itself. So I go to the next thing, move to the next section. So I want us to see on cell budding and cell spacing attributes. Now, cell spacing and cell budding. And I want you to be very, very keen on these attributes that goes into the table. Because once you have known the table tag, you have known the TR tag and the TH and TT, the three things. Now you move to cell budding and cell spacing. So these two attributes, the cell budding and cell spacing, is concerned with the white spaces, the distance between the individual cells and the distance between the cells and the table. So for example, cell spacing defines the width of the border, while cell budding, cell spacing is the width of the border, while cell budding is the distance between cell border and the contents within a cell. So that is what we mean by cell budding. So this distance between the data, for example, this 500 and the walls of this cell is what we would say cell budding. The distance between this data like Ramesh Raman and the walls of this cell is what we would define as cell budding, while spacing is the width of the border. So in this case of example, HTML add again, title. Of course, I said you must be very keen that the table is inside the body. Now, where I define these two attributes is within the table itself, the table tag. Once I open, remember this is the opening of your table. Okay? So when you are opening your table, this is where you define the cell budding and the cell spacing. So now in this case, cell budding is 5, cell spacing is 6. So you can as well just take these key attributes and put it to our example so that we can see cell budding and cell spacing. So I'll take this to our example. So in this regard, I want to share this notepad, share. So I have said where you define these attributes is within the opening of this table. So I bring in this cell budding and cell spacing there. So I can even, let's see first when it is 5 and when it is 10, for example, so that we can be able to see the difference. So I have saved that. Now I wanted to see it in a web browser. Stop that, then share like this. So stop share like this desktop. So this is our table example. So already you can see if I vary this, maybe I can put 10, then you see how it appears. You see the cell budding, how it interferes, or cell spacing in that regard. So if I put here, for example, 20, let's see what happens. Can you see what is happening?
No.
Have you seen the display? Yes?
No.
You can't see anything displayed. Yes? Anything displayed on your screen? Yes?
That's your file explorer.
Pardon?
We can only see your file explorer.
You don't see name, salary, row 2, column 1, something like that? Yes,
No,
maybe
no.
I'll check this. Let me desktop or browser. What about that?
Yeah, it's clear now. Can see.
You see now the concept is I wanted you to see when I do cell padding, when I interfere with cell padding, and when I interfere with cell spacing. In this regard, as you can see from our notepad, we have interfered cell padding to 20. If we return it to originally 5, I save like that, and be able to display, you realize if I refresh that, you see what is happening? Yes, you see this is a little bit smaller, but if I increase cell padding to 20, if I do it like this, I interfere that cell padding to 20. If I put this one to 20 or to 40, for example, let me put this cell padding to 40 so that you can see clearly what is happening. So I'll move again, stop share, and then share again this table. This is the table. You can see the table. Please. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Now let me refresh and then you see what has changed. You see what's happening. So I hope you can see cell padding, what it does, and cell spacing, what's happening. You can see that it has scale there. Yes. Okay. So okay. Now I can continue once you have seen cell padding and cell spacing, and having appreciated what cell spacing or cell padding does. Let me go back to our notes. Now, I hope we are still together on the notes. Yes. Share the screen again. Now, we have seen how cell padding determines or adjusts the space in the table cells accordingly. That cell spacing defines the width of the border, while cell padding determines the distance between the border and the contents within the cell. You can be able to do this practically. Just put it in Notepad and right click within your browser, and then you see how it is displayed. Another important attribute, I hope you are getting these attributes and where it is defined individually. There is this one known as column span and row span. As the name suggests, column span attribute merges 2 or more columns, while row span is used to merge 2 or more rows, as the name suggests, the row span and the column span. What you need to take note is where is this attributes defined within the table. Remember the other one on cell padding and cell spacing was actually being defined within the table tag. Once you are opening this table tag, that is where you put in cell padding and cell spacing. When I talk about row span and column span, the row span I do, the column span and row span I do within the table data itself. You need, those are the key things that you need to be very cautious. Where are you putting these attributes? That is most important, because someone would tell you, demonstrate using an example, the use of row span and column span. So you need to know exactly where that attribute is being defined. Otherwise, these things are very easy. Because once you know how to open HTML head and the body, and you know how to open a table, definitely, because if you are told to write, to use a table, or you are given a table displayed like this, and you are told to write the HTML equivalent of this table. You see, because you will be given a display like this, then you are told to write the HTML to display this table. Then at the background, you need to understand what is happening so that once you open the table, you bring in table row. Of course, in this class, you must have understood when you are dealing with tables, the first thing you should be opening is table row. Then once you open the table row, you now define the headers, these ones, table headers. So TH, depending on how many headers you want within your table. If you need 10 headers, just you write 10 TH 10 times. Then you close the table row. Another one, you open another table row, which now goes to the second row in that regard. So this table row holds now table data row span equals to 2. You see, I want now to scale to 2, which will not be similar with the others because I've defined, because there is the default scaling. But for this case, I want that row to span 2 times other than the others. So table row span equals to 2, then row 1, cell 1. This is now the individual row that I want to span and scale it more than the others, because the others have a default scaling. So row 1, cell 1, then table data that goes into that particular, which goes in this particular row span, which has been scaled beyond the default, which we can see we have defined it at 2. So the table data that goes into that is here, table data row 1, that is row 1, cell 1, and then table data again, row 1, cell 2, which goes to this, then table data, row 1, cell 3, like that. I wish this should have been separated. Maybe we can do this practically. So I copy that, stop share, and move to HTML, and then share screen, notepad, share. Now I want to bring in this other one, Control A, Control V. I hope you can see this new concept here. Are you able to see my notepad? Yes?
We can see the notepad.
You can see the changes I'm making on notepad. Eh?
Yes.
Now, this is where I was talking about the row span and the column span. When I want to join the rows and when I want to join the columns. So table row, I open table row, then you bring in, I should separate table data, open table data, close table data at that point. Then you bring in another table data, row 1, cell 2, close table data, and then close that particular table row. Yes, class up. Okay. Yes, I was continuing. I'm told the guys who are in waiting room. Let me admit these people who are late. I not be seeing anyone in waiting. Okay, I should be able to let them in. Okay, so I was talking about this table row span. So you can see within the table data, that's where I define the row span so that it can be able to define that this particular row, which is holding this data, you've seen table data and the closing of this table data. That is where I want you to concentrate on, where I'm introducing the row span. That's the most important thing. Again, table, I close that table row, I open another table row, move in, table data, row 2, cell 2, closing of that table data, bring in another table data, close like that, closing table data. I think that should be clearly seen. Wanted to make it clearly seen. Table row, table data, column span 3, like that. It closes at that. So remember where I'm bringing in again the column span. You know, I want to join the columns together. So the individual individual TD, where you are defining the column span, you put in a number to define the column span. How many do you want to span? Remember, you need to be having at the background of your mind how it should scale more than the others. If it is scaling by default, you will see the individual scaling. But now, considering this, that you have 3 cells, that is why I have said column span 3. So that I have considered that I have already 3 cells at the top, but I want the column at the bottom to be able to scale 3, considering the individual columns that are coming down. So that maybe we can save this and see what happens. And maybe we can vary, and then we see the output. So I go with this again, desktop. Yes, then so this is the output. You see, this is the row span, and this is the column span. Considering how we come up with this row 1, cell 1, is that we agreed that we are defining the row span. This row span is that TD, this is the TD row span equals to 2. So that in essence, it has been able to merge 2 rows together. You see, can you see column 2 here? We have row 1, cell 2 and row 2, cell 2, but we want to match them. If we want to match this, then we define row span. We define the row span. So this is row 1, cell, this row 1, cell 2, and row 2, cell 3, cell 2. So if we want to define, for example, now we want to match them, we just introduce a row span in that regard. If we want to move to column span, we define it within the TD tag for this particular. When you open the table row, then move to table data, we introduce column span equals to 3, so that it spans column 1, column 2, and column 3. Considering you need to be visualizing how you want the output to look like. Yes, as soon as you come in the class, kindly mute, please. I'm receiving some background noise, interference. Yes. Yes. Okay. So we can continue. So I just want you to take note where you introduce column span and row span in that regard. So that is it. So if I want to interfere and put in maybe to span 4 times other than this, because this one spans 3 times, 1, 2, 3, considering what is happening at the top. Maybe we can introduce 1 extra column here, and then we see how we can span this again like that, we add. So with that, I want just to add that, and then we see how the output looks like. So if I stop, and then share again, then notepad. So I want us to introduce another column. So we'll just pick this like that. We want to add another header. Maybe we call this 4. Or we call this salary. And then within the column span, I can define now the columns span, considering how many columns. These are 1, 2, 3 plus this one for salary. So it means 4 columns. So generally, I would be visualizing that I have 3 columns. So I want now the column to span again, considering the columns. So I'll just interfere this to put it at 4. So you should be visualizing how you want the table looks like, so that you know how much you should put in column span, or how much columns you want to match, or how much individual cells you want to match in that regard. We have not interfered on the cell, the row span. I have just interfered on column span. So maybe we can just visualize how it looks like. What I just want you to do is to understand where the attribute comes in. That's what I'm interested. You know where it is being defined. The column span is defined within the TD tag, Once you know that, I know you can easily maneuver through. Yes. Not bad. So in this case, minimize that. So share screen like this. Share again. So if I refresh that, you can see how it adds. Because I'm just interested on. You see now, that is the problem here. We have not bring in the table data for salary. I hope you can see what is happening. I hope you can see the logic that we have not brought in TD for salary. We must bring in TD for salary so that it can fill the salary cells here. Then this, you can see the cell has spanned again 4 times, considering the columns 1, the first column, column 1, column 2, column 3, and the salary column. I hope you can see the concept, what I'm trying to bring up. Now, having seen that, we can just proceed again. We proceed to the other thing, the other concept. And share the screen. So we have seen the column span and row span, and where individually these attributes comes in. So this row span and column span happens within the TD tag. And you've seen how each of them works. Another important thing is table background. Table background. Now, we have 2 attributes when it comes to background: the BG color and the background. The BG color sets the background color, while the background attributes sets the background image. If you want an image to be the background of your table, you use the background attributes. Otherwise, you can just use a BG color attribute when you want just to have a color. Most importantly is, where do you define those attributes? You can see this BG color or background, the BG color attribute defining the color, and the background attribute defining the background image actually happens within the table tag itself. You see, it is happening within the table tag. So like I want to define BG color as yellow, then you can see how it will be displayed within your table. So we just interfere with this particular attribute. If we go to our previous example here, so you just bring in the BG color to your particular table that you have. And then from there, you could see how it looks like. So maybe I will not be interested to do that. BG color equals to yellow. Just right click, you bring in this attribute, considering that it happens within the table tag. Now the image, you need to have an image within your folder, the same folder you are working in, or where I'm saving these particular files. I save it in one folder, one directory. So within that folder that I'm working on, ensure you have image. Of course, image could be having different formats. If it is PNG, JPG, most importantly, what you need to understand is, where do you bring in these attributes? How do you bring in an image as a background within your table? Then you need to know that I define the table within the table. I define the background within the individual table tag. Yes. So that's why I say table border 1, border color green. Then background is equals to, you must bring in this, what do we call this one? Yes, someone to help us. What do you call this? Yes, apostrophes or commas. What do you call this? Then / images / test.png. What do you call this? Yes,
Quotation.
quotation marks. Yes, double quotation marks. So you bring in / images / test.png. And remember, you must be having or working directory for images. So that what you say / images /test.png, it should go to pull the image. Then it will be able to display an image within or to create an image as a background for your table like this. Now, another important attribute is height. Just want you to get where it is defined. Most importantly, that is it. So how do you define the border or the width and height of your table? When you want to vary the width and height, you define the width and height within, again, the table itself, the table tag, once you're opening the table tag. Now, I think you can see that almost all these attributes, except column span and row span, are defined within the table. So you can as much as have very many attributes as you want within this particular table tag, so that you can be able to define your length and your width for that particular table. Another attribute is table caption. This table caption is just meant for explanation, and it shows at the top of your table. So this is how I bring in the caption immediately after I've opened my table tag. This is where I'm opening my table tag, as you know, as usual. Once you open, you bring in now caption, which is a text about your table. It explains more about your table. But as you can see, this tag is deprecated in new versions of HTML. It has been removed away. So it is no longer used in the newer versions of HTML or extensible HTML in that regard. So this is it. So remember what we mean by caption, because there might be a question on caption, which is text explaining about your table, or someone tells you what is the use of caption or demonstrating the use of caption. Can you write a table demonstrating the use of caption? So the caption attribute comes in immediately after you have opened your table. Just knowing where this attribute comes in is most important, because you know how to define a table. Body, header, and footer. So sometimes you want to divide your table into portions. You can have the head, the body, and the foot. So the head and foot are similar to headers and footers in word processing document. If you have used MS Word or MS Office, how headers and footers, once you define an header, it appears all throughout your document, or a footer appears all throughout your document. So while the body is the main content, it indicates the main body of the table. So how do you define this important table header and table footer? So you see the head where I'm opening. Immediately I open my table. I bring in now the table header. T head to represent the table header. So, and then you see how it will appear. This is the head of the table. But now you want to span all throughout your pages, you see? Remember, in a website or a web document, you will be having several pages, or for you to form a site or a website. If you have done that practical that we are doing, you realize that you want the head to be similar. So if you want the headers to be similar, you use T head. So maybe in this case, this is the head of the table, should be spanning all throughout your pages. So you just define T head. This is T head. Sorry, T head. So T head is open immediately before you define your table row. You see, T head and then closing of T head. So meaning this section will be spanning all throughout your pages, defining the head. Then T foot, which goes below. And remember this, we have begun with the head and the foot. We have not talked about the body. So remember, immediately you open your table, define the, after opening your table immediately, open the T head, define what is happening or the writings that you want, whatever you want to happen in T head, and then you close T head, open the T foot. What will be happening within the footer of all your pages? T foot, and then close T footer, like that. Then now open now the T body, which now goes to the body of your document now. Then you close the T body. It is actually a means of sectioning your document. You want to section them or divide the window, divide your table in that regard. So when you want to define, and remember this, I don't want you to confuse this major body, the major body that you open and this that you are closing here. Understand the use of T head and T body individually, so that when you are producing T body, what should go to your body, like that T body, considering also this example. So you see where you are introducing T body is inside, immediately after T foot, you talk about T body. So that I don't want you to confuse this T body with this entire body of your document. Can you see where each comes in? So be very cautious about that. Another thing I just want to explain is nested tables, which borrows similar concepts from programming. Remember, in programming, you talk about nested if statements or nested if else statement, which means a statement within another statement. Same concept applies. When I'm talking about nested tables, I mean a table inside another table, the same concept. So in this regard, we have our HTML, add, title, then you close the add as usual, then you open the body, then I open my table, the main table. You see, I get the rows and the data that goes individually there. But you now see, I now open another table inside what I had already opened. So I bring in another table inside another table. You see, so I give it the rows and then headers again like that, so that it happens like this. So the one which is bounded outside is the main table, but inside it, I can also have another table inside it. So this is actually an implementation of nesting, having a table inside another table. So maybe that is it with tables. There's nothing much on tables. As long as you have understood the basic concepts about these tables. So you have seen the attributes. Maybe just to summarize, we have talked about tables. You have understood that the most important tag here is table tag. The table tag, which you open a table tag. Another important attribute is table row, TR tag, and then the TD tag. We have also TH tag when you want to define table headers. And we have said by default, it is bolded. Another important thing is column span and row span. Most importantly, understanding that the column span and row span are defined within the TD tag, table data tag, so that column span is used to match columns and row span is used to match rows. The other important thing is cell padding and cell spacing, considering the distance between the individual cells and the individual, the width of the individual cell and the walls of the tables. So get cell spacing and cell padding. These ones are defined within the table tag itself, the table tag itself. So when you open the table, bring in this attribute of cell padding and cell spacing within the table tag. When I am opening the table, I talk about table border and then cell spacing and then cell padding, all those ones. So once you know those ones, maybe you now talk about the height and the width, which you could still also, it's defined within the table tag. You can define those ones within the table tag. Another attribute within the table tag is BG color and background image. When you want to bring in background image, that spans within your table, introduce again when you're opening the table. You just open the table, put in the BG color or the background, like that. I think those ones are the main concepts within these particular tables. So once you know those ones, you know tables. Yes, I don't see much on tables. So in the next session, I'll be interested to begin on frames. I hope you have my class notes and you know where I'm at the moment. So in the next class, I'll be interested to start from frames, table, that is frames itself. Eh? Apart from tables, we'll be moving to frames. So kindly do the practicals for these sessions, and then you see how it is dividing. I want you to do the ones which are in your class manual, and then you see, so that you appreciate the different examples. So just do the ones in my class manual. So maybe additionally, I would want to know those ones who didn't take the cuts, so that there's a group which didn't